So you know how some people love Brussels sprouts, some people hate them? I've got a recipe that is a crowd pleaser for Brussels sprouts today that absolutely everyone will love. It's got a hot bacon dressing on top of it. We're going to pair it with a nice fillet of salmon. I'm going to show you all those ways to make that and more when we come back.
Hi, I'm Laura Will. I'm a wife, a mom, a blogger, and a busy bakery owner. I'm also a self-taught home cook, baker, and cake decorator all wrapped into one. My food style is easy and delicious. With the combination of whole foods and my quick tips and tricks, you too can cook the scratch-made simple way.
Alright, so we're going to start with our Brussels sprouts first. I have two 12-ounce bags here of Brussels sprouts. If you're going to be doing fresh, you can also get just a big full stock at the grocery store, but this time I had frozen in the freezer, so I just pulled them out. What you're gonna do to start this is grab your Brussels sprouts. I de-thawed these a little bit. If you're starting with the frozen, you don't want to be chopping your frozen. You're gonna be chopping these Brussels sprouts in half. So you're gonna grab a bake sheet, put that right there. And I'm gonna get a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. We're just gonna spread this along the pan. That way our Brussels sprouts aren't going to stick and burn on the sheet at all. And I also preheated my oven to 400 degrees. And that's what you're gonna be baking these guys on. I'm just gonna kind of dump these out a bit at a time. And if some of your leaves are coming off, that's okay. You're just gonna be chucking them on the pan like this. So it doesn't have to be super, neat or anything. Some of your leaves are gonna fall off, that's okay. You're just gonna be roasting these. That's gonna be the cooking process for the Brussels sprouts. And then whenever we put those in the oven, we're going to be working on the bacon dressing. This is absolutely delicious. Like I said in the opening, not everybody loves Brussels sprouts. My kids do not like Brussels sprouts. They're a little more prone to eat these with the bacon and the seasoning and everything on them. But I'm not gonna lie, they don't still love their Brussels sprouts, but this helps a lot of adults want to eat them. And this is a really crowd-pleasing dish because I actually did this for Christmas at my sister's and everybody loved it and asked me, what is this recipe? We have to have it. And my sister makes it home all the time now. And her husband loves it, her kids love it. It's really absolutely delicious. And it's actually based off of a Paula Deen recipe that I found. When you are cooking, don't feel the need to rack your brain to find a bunch of different recipes or feel like you're less of a cook because you're using someone else's. That's how I cook all the time. I love to learn, I love to try different things, and if I don't know anything about it, I just Google it or get a cookbook. A cookbook that my family and I have been enjoying lately is by Jamie Oliver. It's called Food Revolution. And it's just kind of re-inspiring people to get back to basics of cooking and shows you ways that you can really pack a lot of flavor in your dishes with just really simple ingredients. Salt, pepper, olive oil, lemon, fresh grated cheeses. It's been really fun. My husband and I have been using a lot of different recipes from there. So again, don't feel like you need to try to come up with everything on your own. The whole point of being in the kitchen is to feed your family well, to have fun, re-inspire yourself with some different cookbooks that you want to try. I'm always up for learning new recipes and I've been having a lot of fun with it. So this again is based off of a Paula Deen recipe with a hot bacon dressing. I switched it up a little bit. I add a little more bacon to mine and I put a little more mustard in my sauce and a little more brown sugar. I don't like it quite as tangy. So, just take away things. I say it all the time on the show. If your family doesn't like a certain ingredient, don't use it. And if you like something, add it. It's totally okay. It's your preference. It's what you enjoy. All right, so we have all of our Brussels sprouts sliced up here. And I'm gonna get this cutting board and bowl out of the way real quick. Do this. All right. Here we go. We're going to pour a little bit of extra virgin olive oil all over our Brussels sprouts. Now, you don't want to pop these in the oven without seasoning because they're going to be very, very bland. Your hot bacon dressing is going to pack a lot of flavor, but you also want the base of your Brussels sprouts to be seasoned well too, because if every step is not seasoned well, it's going to be a little bland. You don't want to just put like a real strong flavor of bacon dressing on unseasoned vegetables. So get a nice little pinch of salt. I'm pretty liberal with my seasoning. Spread it all over. And then I get some fresh cracked pepper, just like this. Do a nice sprinkling. coat all those. I like to take a little bit of garlic powder. You can use fresh garlic, you can use pre-chopped garlic from the grocery store, whatever you like. I just have a lot of dry on hand. I do fresh as well. I love fresh, it's always best. But I have dry on hand, but I don't always have extra. Oh, I don't need parsley flakes actually. I'm gonna do a little bit of chopped onion on these. You could do fresh onion, totally fine. I just, you know, whenever I'm cooking at night for my family, kind of sprinkle this type of stuff on, and it's a lot easier for me than if I'm trying to save time chopping onions and everything, I'll just kind of sprinkle. All right, and a little bit of paprika. There we go. Now I'm gonna toss these guys because you want to evenly distribute all of your seasoning all over your Brussels sprouts. You want to get all that olive oil coated over there, all of the seasoning. There we go, that's good. And then kind of spread these out evenly so they're all baking and not kind of piled on top of each other. So I preheated my oven to 400 degrees. I'm gonna put this in for about 20 minutes and that should be, oops, that should be enough time for my Brussels sprouts to bake through. We're gonna do that. All right, while that's going on, I'm gonna start slicing my bacon. And the original recipe that I found called for about 10 strips of bacon. I like how much, I just use the whole pack. It's like 12 pieces, so it really doesn't matter. 2 more pieces of bacon isn't gonna make that big of a deal, but that's just what I use. So I always get the Nature's Promise or kind of an uncured bacon. So it's, that's just what my family prefers. A little healthier of an option, I guess. Can't really get too healthy with bacon. But don't be afraid to add some fat to your meals. As long as you're active and you're kind of keeping it in check other areas, flavoring your Brussels sprouts with bacon is not gonna be that big of a deal if you're eating normal sized portions of things. All right, so you're just gonna chop these up in cubes, just like this. And you're gonna fry all of this in your pan. Now for today, I'm going to fry this in a skillet just so you can see it. But I usually do mine more in like a saucepan or a bigger pot so it's not popping out. And you're also gonna add your brown sugar and balsamic vinegar to that. But we'll do that in this, and if I have to switch it over then a little bit, I will. All right, so 12 strips of bacon. You can use whatever bacon you want. I turned my skillet on. I'm just gonna sprinkle all this right here. So, there we go. Now I'm gonna fry all this bacon up in the pan while we go on a quick break, and when we get back, I'm gonna pull this out with a slotted spoon, and we'll start, we'll pick up the sauce from there, and I'll show you how to cook all of this down when we come back. Welcome back. We have just diced and put an entire package of bacon in a skillet, and I am just about to take this off the stove. I'm going to move it on my burner actually. Well, I'll take it off right here. And we're going to get a slotted spoon and pull it out of the skillet. So what you're going to do when you are doing this is get a paper towel covered plate, because you want to get all of these bacon bits out just like this. Hoo-hoo. Oh, it smells so good. You want it to be golden brown like this. You don't want to, keep it in there so long that it actually starts to burn them a little bit. You're going to reserve this bacon, and then we're going to sprinkle this on top of the Brussels sprouts when they come out with our hot bacon dressing balsamic glaze reduction. So you don't want to pour out this bacon fat because you're going to be using some of this rendered bacon fat for your dressing. So you're going to be adding some Dijon mustard and some balsamic glaze to this bacon fat to help really add a lot of flavor to the dish. So whenever you're getting your bacon out, that's why you're using a slotted spoon, because you don't want to dump this stuff out. You're going to be using it. So if you don't get every single little bit out, that's okay. Just try to get as much of it out as you can, because you don't want these little bacon bits cooking in your pan and burning all of your bacon fat there, because they will start getting kind of black. All right, that's pretty good. Now, you don't need quite all of this bacon fat. I'm gonna dump about half of this out. You really only need about a 1/4 cup. This is almost like about half a cup or so. So I'm gonna just pour a little bit out back here, but only about half. You wanna make sure you keep a good amount of this. This is about what I'm gonna start with my pan in here. Now this is why I was saying if I wasn't doing this on the show, I would have a bigger pot. I don't suggest doing this in a skillet. I'm just doing this so you can see the process of what I'm doing. You might want to get it in a bigger pot so this isn't kind of like popping up in your face with the bacon fat and stuff. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this at home. All right, so we have balsamic vinegar. You're gonna start with a half a cup of that. I'm gonna pour this in here. This is really tangy. It has a ton of flavor, and it's gonna be really, really good whenever it's reduced down into a sauce. It starts to get kind of this sweet taste and less acidic and tangy. You're gonna let this cook on the stovetop for about 6 minutes, maybe a little longer if you feel like, you know, you'll smell it. It will start to smell, it'll reduce down into more of a thick kind of a syrupy sauce. That's exactly what you want to happen. You don't want your vinegar to be all runny like this whenever you're putting it on your Brussels sprouts at the end. You want it to be kind of a glaze. So that's why it's gonna take a good several minutes for that to happen. All right, I'm gonna get brown sugar then, because that's also gonna add some sweetness to this so it won't be so much vinegar taste. You wanna get the nice balsamic taste. So I'm gonna get this out. See, it's starting to sizzle in here with the bacon. It's cooking down, that's exactly what you want to happen. I'm trying to get this. Okay, if I can get my lid off. Here we go. I'm going to use about 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar. I'm going to want to pack that down, just like this, and then put that in the skillet. Now, like I said before, with all of the things that I cook, you can make it taste however you want it to. If you like it a little less sweet, you can use a little less sugar. I like more sugar. The recipe that I found only had 2 tablespoons. I thought that it was still a little too tangy for my taste, so I added more mustard to mine, which I'm gonna show you in a minute. And I add extra seasoning to my sauce as well too, to take off kind of that really pungent vinegar taste. I added a little more brown sugar. So what I'm putting in is about 1/3 of a cup. And don't be afraid to taste this as you go. If you like, you know, right now you don't need to taste it because it hasn't cooked down enough. But when it's starting to get to the end stage, if you feel like, this seems like it needs a little more sugar or a little more salt or something, feel free to do that. So I take a little salt, I put it in mine, because I don't want it to be, I kind of like the balance of that flavor. And then what you're gonna do is you are going to get some Dijon mustard, and this calls for, let me shake this a little bit so it doesn't have a bunch of juice. This recipe calls for a couple tablespoons. I put a good amount in. I like the flavor of it, so I'm putting anywhere from maybe even about a 1/4 cup in here is what I'm putting in. And you're gonna just let this all meld together and start to cook down. Now it's gonna be chunky like this in the beginning. It will cook into the rest of the sauce, don't be afraid. You can kind of just keep an eye on this as it starts to cook. Now this is gonna start to deglaze in the pan here and really cook down to a sauce. So I'm gonna let this go a little bit. If you wanna keep an eye on this, feel free to. I'm going to start working on my salmon just to do 2 things at once. That's how I cook a lot in the kitchen. So just make sure you're keeping an eye on your sauce and you're not letting it just, don't pay attention to it and start burning. You want to keep an eye on it, but mine's right beside me, so I feel comfortable doing that. So I'm starting with 4 little salmon fillets. I just got these at the grocery store. These were frozen, I thawed these out. Feel free to buy fresh. Fresh is always best no matter what. It's gonna be really, really good. But I had these on hand. I just pulled them out of the freezer and let them thaw. These were wild caught, so they actually had skin on the back that I peeled off. If a little was left on there, that's okay. So I'm gonna prepare these and we'll pop these in the oven then when we come back, and I'll let this cook down, and then I'll show you how to assemble the Brussels sprouts and the hot bacon dressing all together, and we'll see you in a bit when we get back. Welcome back, guys. This is what your sauce is going to be looking like after it's cooked down. I cooked this for about anywhere between 6 to 8 minutes. It's real thick now. See that? It's not all runny like vinegar. If your sauce is runny, it is not finished cooking. You want to make it a real nice glaze like this. All of the brown sugar and the vinegar and the bacon fat and the Dijon mustard have all melded into one delicious sauce. And all I did was add a little bit of salt and pepper to this. So, oh, actually now I'm gonna pull out my Brussels sprouts I just finished baking. It was 400 for 20 minutes. So they are going to look nice and starting to brown toasty like this. Ooh, and they smell so good too. That's what your Brussels sprouts are gonna look like. So you are going to take a nice big bowl like this. I'm gonna make some room here, actually pull my bacon out of the way, and we'll start the fish in just a bit. But for now, I'm gonna finish showing you how to assemble this side dish. Now, if you have your fish baking in the same oven, which we're about to do, you can just leave these on the pan on top of the stove. They'll stay nice and warm, and this can stay with a lid on the stovetop too, and it's not gonna be getting cold while your fish is baking, because this is all kind of you're staggering all your cooking to make everything stay hot at the same time, so that's totally okay, you can do that. That'll stay warm for you. So, here's our bowl. I'm gonna get my Brussels sprouts and just pour them right in here. Be careful, because these are gonna be hot. And all you need to do is dump them in a nice big serving dish. Actually, my tin foil is coming off here a little bit. Let me sit this down for just a second. I don't want my tin foil. There we go. All right. I'm telling you what, if you serve this dish, it is a very big crowd pleaser. Anyone who has eaten this absolutely loves this recipe. I haven't taken this one place where someone hasn't asked for this recipe. So if you make this, be prepared to hand it out because everybody loves it. So we have them in a bowl. Don't they look so good? They're nice and kind of brown and caramelized on the sides. All right, and then you're gonna get your glaze. You're just gonna pour it all over those Brussels sprouts. Make sure you get every little bit out, just like that. And then you're going to toss these guys a little bit, just like this. Stir it in, and you're gonna top it with all of this bacon that you just cooked in the pan. And oh my goodness, is it good. Just dump it right in there, and then you're gonna stir all of that, just like this. And you have got your roasted Brussels sprouts with a hot bacon dressing, and it is so good. I'm making a little bit of a mess, it's okay. There you go. I'll let you feast your eyes on that. Woohoo, so good. All right, like I said, if you even want to assemble this while you're about to bake your fish, all you have to do is just get a nice piece of tin foil, put it over while it's, after it's done, and it'll stay nice and warm for you. So what we're gonna do next is get our 4 little fillets of salmon. If you have more guests coming over or you have a bigger family than I do, all you're gonna do is make more salmon. So take this, a little dish. I like to just use a little baking sheet because I don't need a whole pan for just a couple pieces of fish, but I'm going to rub a little bit of extra virgin olive oil on my baking sheet so my fish aren't sticking. Now there's lots of different ways you can make fish way more flavorful. Whenever I'm serving salmon or fish that's kind of a lighter flavored protein with such a strong flavorful dish, I kind of like to let that one speak for itself instead of putting a ton of seasoning all over my fish. A nice seasoning is soy sauce, brown sugar, ginger, things like that. But for this one, I'm not gonna have the flavors clashing that much. So all I'm gonna do is just put a little bit of extra virgin olive oil on my fish and some salt and pepper and maybe a little bit of garlic, and the fish will speak for itself. The flavor is very good with just some, basic seasoning on it. So, now, I'm not gonna take the time to do it right now, but I would season both sides of this fish. Just for the sake of time, I'm just gonna do one side, but make sure you're doing both sides. So there's a little bit of salt on there, and I'm gonna do a little bit of fresh cracked black pepper, just like that. little bit of parsley. And then I like to put dill on my fish. It's a really nice mild flavor that kind of pairs well with any type of fish. You can put it on haddock, tilapia, salmon. I love dill on fish. So put a teeny little bit of that. And then for salmon about this size, you're gonna bump your oven up actually to 425. It was on 400 for the Brussels sprouts, but I'm gonna put it on 425, and then we're gonna put these in the oven for about 12 to 14 minutes, or whenever they flake easily with a fork, you'll be able to tell that they're done. So I'm gonna pop these in and bake these a while, and then when we come back, I'm gonna make a quick tartar sauce and we'll plate everything and taste it. Alright, so we are just pulling our salmon out of the oven, and this is what it's going to look like when it is finished. It's going to be pink, and the fat is going to start coming out of it. That way you'll kind of know it's cooked. All you have to do is grab a fork and just kind of scrape this little bit of fat deposits that have oozed out off to the side, because obviously you don't really want to eat those because they're not very tasty, but they're not going to do anything to you if you do. But they just look a little bit better if you're kind of scraping these off to the side. That's what I always do. My 5-year-old would not eat that, so I have to make my plates look as appetizing as I can for my kids to eat them. So they don't even know that this isn't chicken half the time. As long as there's some meat and it tastes good, they're happy and they'll eat it. So I get this off, and then I'm going to show you guys now how to make a quick little tartar sauce to go with your salmon. So I'm going to scoot this out of the way, and my husband loves this tartar sauce. He eats an obscene amount of it on top of his fish. So all you're gonna do is start with a mayonnaise base. And I like to use Clausen pickles. These, if you like restaurant pickles that are nice and chilled and crunchy, this is the brand to get. It's a very big difference because they're chilled when they're made. So it's different than what you're getting if you're just buying a jar off the shelf. So that's my little pickle tip of the day. If that's what you prefer, that will be the closest to kind of a restaurant pickle that you're getting. So you only need maybe about a 1/4 cup, 1/2 cup. Again, if you're doing a lot of fish for a bigger crowd, then you're gonna make as much as you need. But basically, you just start with a little bit of mayonnaise. I'll put this to the side, and as always, you're gonna season everything. So I take a little bit of salt, put it in there, put a little bit of pepper, just like that. Salt and pepper go an extremely long way. They're gonna make everything taste good. Do not skip salt and peppering everything you do, because it puts flavor in your dish that you absolutely need, even down to your sauce. So I take about, just a pickle. If you like a little more crunch, that's fine. I'm gonna just quick chop these like this. You're gonna do them nice and thin to make it just like a traditional tartar sauce. Those little green specks in there are pickles. That's all I do with mine. I'm just gonna dice these like this, real small. And then I just throw these in my little mayonnaise base. Just like this. And that is more than enough pickles for me. So I'm gonna put these right in here, just like that. Oh, and also you're gonna wanna put a little more dill. Dill is such a good flavor with fish. I like to put it in this as well. Try and get all the rest of these little pickles up if I can. There we go. Just like that. All right, and I just get a little, fresh dill is really, really good. Again, if this is what you have on hand, dry dill is gonna be just fine. Sprinkle it in like that. Then out of the fridge, I keep some pre-sliced lemon in my fridge. I like to put it in my water, so I always kind of have these around. If you are cutting up a lemon, you don't even need half a lemon, just a little bit of a squeeze, maybe from like a slice is good. But you do want that acidity in there because it really adds to the flavor of your little tartar sauce. And if you get a seed in here like I did, just dig it out like that, because you don't want that in your tartar sauce. Okay. And that's about it. It's really simple, but it tastes really good. A tap of salmon, and that's how I do a quick tartar sauce for my fish, just like that. And all those pretty specks of green and seasoning in there really make it good. Okay, so we're gonna plate this up. You just grab a plate and you're going to, let me get a spatula real quick. Get a nice piece of salmon here, just like this. And then we're gonna get those delicious Brussels sprouts that we cooked down with our balsamic glaze. Let me grab a spoon here. And we will have all of these recipes on the blog for you. If you are making this, feel free to hashtag it. If you're coming up with your own recipes, you can hashtag it Scratch Made Simple. We'll follow along and see all the things you're coming up with. And there you go. We're gonna get a little bit of this tartar sauce, put it right on like that. You can serve it with a slice of lemon, just like this. Look how pretty that looks. All right, I'm gonna grab a fork and try this out. I hope you guys enjoy this dish. Until next time, we will see you right back here in the kitchen. So good.